Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Bloodstained Ritual of the Night Hard North Fresh. And in this episode, we are going to move over to Tower of Twin Dragons. Yeah. Make sure you take down the Caraboose to try and get more shards for her, despite the fact that getting additional shards for Caraboose isn't actually all that important because it only increases her combat effectiveness, except I think you need a specific amount of shards in order for her to unlock the ability to denote where hidden walls are. Caraboose is the utility familiar for the most part, and that is her primary utility aspect. The fact that she can actually identify where certain broken walls are. But we have successfully made it into the Tower of Twin Dragons.
Yes. Broken glass.
You'll notice, however, that because the Tower of Twin Dragons is a 3D area, our double hammerheads have a difficult time either keeping up with us or aggroing things that are off screen and chasing them down, despite the fact that we can't interact with them otherwise. There is a specific enemy in Tower of Twin Dragons that is notorious for that, and that is the Scythemite. We won't be seeing the Scythemite for a little bit yet, but yeah, Scythemite just objectively breaks the double hammerhead scripting, mostly because although it's definitely available the moment you actually start spraying blood onto the tower, it oh, and here's an interesting little thing that happens too. If an item drops on the 3D transitional planes, you're not getting it.
Yeah, it sucks how that happens. It's nice that there's gravity. It's nice that the level will catch the item. However, if I can't go over there, then I ain't getting it.
Yeah. Which is, it's weird because we can get over to where the item drops. We just can't actually pick it up because we're no longer on the same plane as it. So
much more forgiving in games that have infinite enemy respawns. All you have to do is just exit and re-enter the room, and you'll have another chance at getting that exact same loot.
Which thankfully this game has. So
versus Resident Evil 6, which I Let's Played on my channel, where the fucking healing item was actually put behind a damage barrier, so I couldn't get it without electrocuting myself.
For the record, that happens so much in Capcom games. Mega Man is notorious for having that happen. Like, if you kill any of the bubble bats I think it's Heatman stage, they almost always end up dropping their additional lives and/or their large health pickups in the lava flow, and it's like, well, I just straight up can't get that, so oh well.
Capcom, loot get maybe.
Yeah. Was that a significant recurring problem in the Oracle games?
That is a good question.
I don't think it was, but we got Beast Guardian, one of the better defensive shards in the entire game. What Beast Guardian will do is it will put up what is effectively a melee barrier in front of Miriam as long as you're actually holding the button, and it will attempt to parry slash perfect block any melee attacks that come into contact with it. It is very good at that, but it's also ridiculously expensive, and it is a lesser version of another shard that we'll be getting slightly later. So
Zangetsu also has the ability to parry, right?
For the record, so does Miriam, but she has to be using the short sword or katana weapons in order to get access to it.
Right, just as long as it's understood that every character you play as in this game, so the entirety of the time you're playing Bloodstained, you should keep in mind that every attack in this game can be parried so you take no damage.
No, not every attack in this game can be parried, depending on who you're playing with. Miriam cannot parry magical attacks.
How about blocking?
She can block magical attacks, certainly, with the shard that's on the screen at the moment, actually, but I'm not going to show that off for quite some time.
Well, I must applaud this game for its use of consistent, familiar mechanics so that you need not be so grounded in one character that you can't play as others.
We got the Welcome Company Conjure Shard, which was, on release, one of the most broken spells in the entirety of the Igavania franchise. It has since been nerfed. It is now only terribly broken instead of stupidly broken. If you max out Welcome Company, which is relatively easy to do, Welcome Company is both a really good offensive and a really good defensive shard. It is also one that I will not be showing off, so I need to go over what it does. It summons a ring of portraits around Miriam. Oh, we're going through a cutscene. Hey, Jeeble.
Well. Look at all the shards you've amassed.
I was attempting to explain some of them before you interrupted me, Jeeble.
Power of demons.
It feels like nothing. Just power. And so long as I'm in control of it, human power.
So there, Mr. Jeeble.
Fool, if you think you can soak up that.
You're a fool if you think you can soak up that much of their deviltry, which I was not even aware was a word.
To you or them.
Never say never, Miriam.
Which is an oxymoronic axiom. Haha.
What? Oh,
Hey,
Alfred threw that.
Now, Jibble. The Libre
I have you now.
and I shall see it.
I've been awake for 5 days straight. I finally caught up to you.
Orders from a dead man walking.
You two, fight to the death.
And now you die. My next attack will not miss.
Oh yeah, Mr. Alfred?
Master, you must conserve your energy for King Bale.
And that is the first drop of a major plot twist that happens at the very end of the game.
You are lucky, old man.
I didn't know Gremory had any speaking lines.
Yeah, Gremory is actually the true villain of this game. We've gone through the game enough times for me to actually spoil that specifically.
To plunge the world into...
I must give chase while the trail is still fresh.
Bye, Alfred.
I say just by this being a hard mode playthrough, players should already know how the story generally goes. You're not going to play hard mode on your first try.
Well, you're not supposed to play hard
You're not
mode on your
supposed
first
to, and you really shouldn't.
one. Yeah, I advocate for that, certainly. Hey, an ether.
You know, it's nice to overcome the challenge. However, you're going to be getting game overs more often than the game makers intended, causing an undue amount of frustration.
Yeah. Anyway, as we go into Livre Ex Machina, I wanted to finish explaining what Welcome Company does. Welcome Company surrounds Miriam with a circle of portraits that have the ability to intercept melee and projectile attacks. It is extremely useful. It is extremely useful because they actually do a sizable amount of damage as well. So yeah, if you want to cheese out specific boss fights, Welcome Company will allow you to do that very nicely. And because Poltergeist is so prevalent throughout the first third of the castle, it's actually relatively easy to get a bunch of Welcome Company shards just going through the game normally.
So
We got the cookies recipe. Woohoo!
Cookies
are not honestly that good of a healing item, but they're one of the few food items that will actually increase Miriam's base luck stat. Which means that, yes, I will eventually be eating a plate of cookies. And I have to make a plate of cookies for Susie later as well, so.
Here, have a cookie. And I promise you, as soon as you walk out that door, you'll start to feel better.
You'll remember you don't believe in all this Castlevania bullshit.
I'm in control of my own portraits. Aren't I, Capcom?
Yeah. Careful, careful. No! We spawned the Guizin. Run away! So, the punishment for fucking up that puzzle is that you end up spawning Guizins at you. Guizins are an extremely late game enemy, and if you attempt to fight it now, it is going to kill you. So,
Yeah.
don't fight it now.
Yeah, it's hard mode. You shouldn't fight late game enemies on hard mode until you level up first.
Well, until you're actually in the area that you're supposed to be fighting them, which is, the final third, effectively the final third of the game, the very end of Act 2, rather. More poltergeists. Yay, we leveled up.
I mean, it's a trope that happens in a lot of games where they start introducing, not palette swaps of enemies that are just higher level, more HP, and deal more damage, but yeah, late game enemies that show up first as like a mini boss or even like a true boss, but then you come to find out later that you end up getting so powerful that you could take on a horde of those exact same enemies and you'll do just fine.
Symphony of the Night is the first video game that I know of that actually had that as a significant trope, where you end up fighting a combination of what is it? It's Gaivin and Slogra. You end up fighting Gaivin and Slogra and werewolves relatively early on as bosses, and then they end up being just recurring enemies in the reverse castle.
I mean, there are more games than I care to list off. Streets of Rage, Sekiro. I mean, games that we've done for the channel, for instance. It is
a staple of beat 'em up specifically, but it's usually not a thing that they do in action RPGs. It's a thing that they can do in action RPGs. Hey, it's OD. Hi, OD. We'll be seeing you later.
That aura about
You must like Flesh God Apocalypse.
And what of it? Will you murder me for that alone?
No, we
I'll take
won't.
no quarrel with you.
Murder you? I don't even know you.
Warlock Dracul, but you may call me OD. I oversee this library, Miss...
Miriam.
Miriam. Am I permitted to take out books
Oh,
from this
initials.
garden of yours?
Of course, Miriam. Although you would be my first human patron.
Of course, they used to make fun of me in school, so I decided to drop the whole Dracul thing and just be OD. It's me, OD G.
Alright, so OD actually has an interesting progression system. His library will expand depending on how much of the map you actually explore. And there are a couple of specific books that I always pick up whenever I'm going through the game. I always pick up the Might Tome because, you know, I am absolutely married to melee attacks. And I usually end up picking up the Fortune and God's Luck tomes once I actually get access to them. Those are the luck increasing tomes. Mostly because luck is actually a stat that works in this game, as opposed to Aria of Sorrow, where it doesn't actually work. God damn it.
Well,
anyway,
because we have a crit system in this game.
We do have a crit system in this game. So, welcome to Andrealphas, or as I like to refer to him as Andy. Andy hits really fucking hard on hard mode. Please note that in 2 hits he has taken down almost half my fucking health.
You got a friend in me. You got a friend
Ow.
in me. When you're roaming of a mile, when you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed.
Now you'll notice that I'm actually using True Arrow a bunch in this fight, and that's because it deals 60 fucking damage to him whenever I can hit him with all three arrows. And you'll notice that my double hammerheads are actually dealing a significant amount of damage to him too, 20 per hit. And with 5 of them active, they, you know, if they would actually charge at him like so, they could do upwards of 500 points of damage, of 100 points of damage. It's very nice.
Captain Andy, he's our
the
hero.
He's
gonna take your health bar down to 0.
Alright, so
come on, put on the Santa Claus hat.
no, I don't want to put on the Santa Claus hat because
Damn
it's
it.
specifically a luck steroid item and nothing else. If it granted me anything else other than luck, then I would probably put it on. Mostly because, you know, I actually need as much defense as I can get. But with Andy down, we have to go and figure out how we have to go and take down one of the coolest bosses that I think is even that I happen to have a specific method of taking down for hard mode.
Nice.
I was hoping to actually get Dente Leon before we go over to the next boss, but we didn't get it. Oh well. Dente Leon is one of the other big familiars of the game. It casts specifically, depending on how many copies of it you have, it casts up a buff spell on you that increases your stats. In the next episode, back to Tower of Twin Dragons we go.